You won't believe what I'm about to tell you. In the heart of Africa, a man is sitting on a bombshell that could change everything we know about energy, transportation, and power. Imagine a car that doesn't need fuel, doesn't need to charge, and can even provide electricity to your home. Sounds like science fiction, right? Well, it's not. It's real. And the man behind it? Maxwell Chikumbutso, a genius who claims to have created the world's first self-powering car. But here's the thing. No one believes him. Not the scientific community. Not the government. Not even the people who should be backing him. His own country, Zimbabwe. And the worst part? Some say he's playing with fire, promising something that defies all known laws of physics. Yet, the whispers around the world are growing louder. Some people believe in him. Some say this could be the key to Africa's future. But will anyone listen before it's too late? Let me break it down for you. Chikumbutso's car, known as the Seth, is unlike anything you've ever seen. The car doesn't just drive. It generates its own power using radio frequencies. No fuel required. It's a self-sustaining, moving generator. That's right. Imagine driving home from work, and while you're parked in your driveway, your car is powering your entire house. This isn't some pipe dream. This is what Chikumbutso has claimed, and he has the prototype to back it up. But it doesn't stop there. The Seth isn't just some slow-moving, eco-friendly car. No, it can reach speeds up to 220 kilometers per hour and has an electric motor capable of delivering 380 Newton-meters of torque. It's fast, it's powerful, and it's the future of transportation. But there's one massive issue. It's almost too good to be true. This isn't just a new car. This could be the answer to the world's energy crisis, a solution to Africa's dependence on foreign resources. But Chikumbutso faces something far worse than skepticism. He faces a wall of silence. Despite the groundbreaking nature of his invention, his own government has chosen to ignore him. No support, no funding, no protection. Why? Because when something this big comes out of Africa, it rattles the cages of global powers. The powers that control energy, that control oil, that control everything. And this isn't the first time something like this has happened. Time and time again, we've seen how African inventors, scientists, and innovators have been ignored, dismissed, or even outright sabotaged by governments that are either too scared or too controlled by foreign interests to embrace real change. It's not just the fear of failing. It's the fear of success, of disrupting the global order that has been built over centuries. But Chikumbutso isn't backing down. Despite the silence, despite the critics, despite the lack of resources, he continues to push forward with a self-powering car. The truth is, he doesn't need the validation of foreign governments. The only thing he needs is the ability to make his vision a reality. Yet here's the catch. Without the right support, his vision may never see the light of day. That's where Ibrahim Traoré comes in, a name that's been gaining momentum, not just in Africa, but around the world. Traoré is the captain of Burkina Faso, a country that has risen up against colonial control and global influence. A man who has shown, time and time again, that he's willing to stand up to anyone who threatens his country's independence. Traoré isn't a typical leader. He didn't come to power through elections or diplomacy. He came to power through a revolution born from the frustration of a nation that had been under the thumb of foreign powers for far too long. In 2022, Traoré led a military coup that ousted the corrupt government of Burkina Faso, and since then, he has committed himself to one goal: true independence for Africa. He's not just a soldier, he's a symbol of defiance, of the African spirit that refuses to be controlled. He's seen the devastation that colonialism has left on a continent, and he's dedicated his life to undoing the damage. His rise to power has inspired millions across Africa, especially in a time when foreign powers are trying to maintain their influence in the region. But here's where things get interesting. Traoré has made it clear that he will do whatever it takes to protect Africa's interests, to ensure that Africa's resources, its innovations, and its future remain in African hands. Could Traoré be the protector that Chikumbutso needs? Could he be the one to help bring Chikumbutso's groundbreaking invention to the world? Many people believe that the only way Chikumbutso's invention will survive is if someone like Traoré steps up to protect it. With the power to influence change, with the political will, to stand against international pressures. Traoré could be the only person who can keep this invention safe. After all, Chikumbutso's car isn't just a new technology. It's a direct challenge to the global energy and automotive industries. The moment this car hits the market, it will disrupt everything. And the powers that control oil, energy, and transportation will not go down without a fight. But Traoré doesn't care. He's not afraid of global opposition. He's not afraid of the West. He's not afraid of anyone. He's already survived multiple assassination attempts, and he's still standing. He's proven that he has the resolve to stand against anything that threatens Africa's independence. And if he decides to back Chikumbutso, he will make sure that no one can stop this revolution. The truth is, Africa has always had the potential to lead the world in innovation. But for too long, it has been held back by a system that prioritizes foreign interests over local growth. If Africa is to break free from this system, it needs leaders who are willing to challenge the status quo, who are willing to protect their own people and their own inventions. Traoré could be that leader. He could be the one to help Chikumbutso's car become a reality, and he could be the one to help Africa take control of its future. But there's a risk, a massive one. Chikumbutso's invention is being targeted by the same forces that have kept Africa dependent for centuries. The moment the world sees the potential of Chikumbutso's car, the attack will begin. Governments, corporations, and foreign powers will stop at nothing to silence him, to discredit him, and to ensure that Africa never gets the chance to rise. The question is, will Traoré be able to protect him? You know what they say. When the world turns its back on you, you either crumble or you fight back. And Ibrahim Traoré? Well, he's been fighting since the day he took control of Burkina Faso. This man is a beast. He doesn't just sit at the table with world powers. He flips the damn table. While other African leaders bow down, begging for foreign aid or approval, Traoré stands firm. His message is clear. Africa is done being a beggar at the table of the West. In 2022, when the people of Burkina Faso had enough of foreign control and a corrupt government that sold them out to the highest bidder, it was Traoré who rose up. This wasn't a political move. This wasn't some symbolic gesture. This was a full-on revolution. He didn't just overthrow a government. He overthrew decades of exploitation and colonial influence. He has one goal: to make Africa self-sufficient. He doesn't want handouts from the West. He doesn't want foreign loans that put the continent in debt for generations. He doesn't want Africa to be the playground for international corporations looking to suck the lifeblood out of the continent. Traoré is about breaking chains, not just for Burkina Faso, but for all of Africa. And it's not just talk. This man has already shown the world he's not afraid of a fight. When the international community tried to shame Burkina Faso for breaking away from France's control, Traoré stood his ground. While others would have cowered under pressure, he raised his middle finger to anyone who dared to undermine the independence of his people. Now, people are starting to connect the dots. They're realizing that if anyone is going to protect Africa's future, it's this man right here. Ibrahim Traoré could be the only person with enough power, vision, and balls to stand up to the global powers trying to squash Chikumbutso's invention. Because let's face it, this car, Seth, isn't just a technological breakthrough. It's a threat to the entire global system. If it works, if it reaches the market, the oil industry is done. The car manufacturers are done. The entire energy game would change overnight. And guess who would be at the center of it? Africa. That's right. Africa could take the wheel of its own future, and the West, they'd be playing catch-up. But do you think the world powers are going to let that happen without a fight? Hell no. They've spent too many years making money off Africa's resources, off its energy, and off its dependence. And the moment they realize that an African inventor might just have the key to break the chains they've kept Africa in, they'll stop at nothing to bury him. They'll use their media to discredit him. They'll threaten governments, and if all else fails, they'll go as far as to sabotage his work. But not if Traoré has anything to say about it. He's not going to let that happen. He's already survived multiple assassination attempts. Do you think some corporate thugs are going to scare him off? This man is built different. He's fought wars, he's fought corruption, and now he's fighting for Africa's freedom. He's exactly the kind of leader that Chikumbutso needs right now. And here's the kicker. Traoré isn't just some political figurehead. He's not just talking a big game and hiding behind diplomatic niceties. He's a soldier, and soldiers don't fear the fight. Traoré is the kind of leader who has the power to get things done. If he steps in to back Chikumbutso, this isn't going to be some quiet support. This will be a full-on political and economic shift. Traoré has the guts, the influence, and the will to take on anyone who tries to stop Africa's progress. But what does this mean for Chikumbutso? It means he finally has a shot. With Traoré in his corner, he wouldn't just be some lone inventor struggling against the world. He'd be backed by a country, backed by a movement, and most importantly, he'd be backed by a leader who knows exactly how to fight against the global powers that want to shut him down. You see, Africa's biggest problem has never been a lack of resources. It's always been a lack of leadership. Too many African leaders have sold out their own people for scraps from the West, too afraid to challenge the global system. But with Ibrahim Traoré, that's all changing. The winds of revolution are blowing, and this time, they're blowing in favor of Africa's own. No more begging for foreign approval. No more playing by their rules. It's time to take what's ours and make sure the rest of the world knows it. But the question still stands. Will Traoré take that step? Will he step up and give Chikumbutso the backing he needs to make his self-powering car a reality? Or will he hold back, caught in the web of international politics? If he's serious about breaking the chains of African dependence, he's got to back Chikumbutso. It's the only way to prove that Africa is ready to lead the world, not follow it. And if he does, well, that's where the real story begins. A self-powering car, made by an African inventor, with the full support of an African leader who isn't afraid of the fight. That's the future. But it's not a future that's going to come easy. It's a future that's going to be fought for, tooth and nail. All right, buckle up, because this is where things get really intense. You think Chikumbutso's invention is just a new tech gimmick? Think again. This isn't just a car, and it sure as hell isn't just a minor disruption. What Chikumbutso has created could very well be the thing that changes the entire power structure of the world. This isn't just about a shiny new electric vehicle. It's about taking down the most powerful industries on the planet. It's about shaking up the global oil empire and automotive giants who've held Africa hostage for decades. You see, when we talk about global energy, we're talking about trillions of dollars. Oil, gas, electricity. These industries control everything. They decide who gets power, who gets to develop, and who stays dependent. For Africa, this has meant one thing: reliance. Reliance on foreign powers for energy, for resources, for technology. But that's all about to change, because what Chikumbutso is offering isn't just an alternative, it's the endgame. A car that doesn't need fuel. A car that can generate its own power. And guess what? If it works, it's a death sentence for oil. A global catastrophe for the auto industry that's built on gasoline. Imagine an entire continent that no longer needs to import fuel, that can power itself from within. Africa could become the biggest energy powerhouse the world has ever seen. But here's the problem. The moment Chikumbutso's invention becomes a reality, every single player in the energy market is going to come after him. The oil tycoons, they'll try to bury him. The car manufacturers, they'll do whatever it takes to discredit him. The world's largest corporations, they'll launch smear campaigns, spread lies, and manipulate media to ensure that this doesn't get out. This is the game these global powers play. They don't care about innovation. They care about control. They care about profits. And they'll stop at nothing to make sure that anything that threatens their monopoly is wiped out before it can even get started. And that's exactly why Chikumbutso needs a protector. He needs someone who can fight back against these forces. Someone who isn't going to buckle under pressure. Someone like Ibrahim Traoré. If anyone has the guts to take on the global giants, it's this man. This isn't just about politics for Traoré. This is about survival. This is about ensuring that Africa has the tools to stand on its own and fight back against the powers that have been exploiting it for centuries. And if he backs Chikumbutso, it's not just a matter of supporting a single inventor. It's about launching a full-scale battle for Africa's future. But let's be real here. It's not going to be easy. This won't be some smooth ride into a bright new future. If Chikumbutso's car is going to succeed, there's going to be blood on the floor. There's going to be resistance from every corner of the globe. The global elite will use every trick in the book, disinformation, sabotage, political pressure, to make sure this never sees the light of day. Look at what they've done to Africa's innovators in the past. How many times have great African minds been silenced by global powers? How many inventions have been stolen or buried because they threatened the status quo? But this time, it's different. This time, the fight isn't just for an invention, it's for Africa's place in the world. And if Chikumbutso's technology is real, and if Traoré backs it, this could change everything. No more begging for foreign aid. No more being the world's underdog. This could be Africa's chance to take control of its own destiny. It could be the moment the world realizes that Africa doesn't need anyone else to lead. It can lead on its own. But here's the kicker. Chikumbutso's technology is still in its infancy. It hasn't been validated. It hasn't been mass-produced. And despite all the potential, there are still doubts. Is it real? Or is it just another pipe dream? The scientific community doesn't know what to make of it. Some say it's too good to be true. Others say it's revolutionary. But no one is willing to take the risk. That's where Traoré comes in. He has nothing to lose, and everything to gain by throwing his weight behind this technology. If he supports it, the rest of Africa will follow. Other countries will join the movement. And soon, Africa could become the testing ground for a new kind of energy revolution. A revolution that doesn't rely on the West, that doesn't rely on foreign loans, and that doesn't depend on fossil fuels. But for that to happen, everything needs to line up. The risks are high, the stakes are massive, and the global powers are watching closely, waiting to see if this is real, or if it's just another African dream that gets crushed before it even has a chance to take off. But here's the bottom line. Chikumbutso's car isn't just a car. It's a statement that Africa is no longer going to play by the rules that were set by others. It's a statement that Africa is ready to control its own destiny. And if Traoré steps in to protect it, this could be the beginning of something monumental. But the question still remains, will the global powers let it happen? Or will they crush it before it even gets started? And if it does succeed, if this car really works, what does that mean for the rest of the world? What happens when Africa finally takes control of its own resources, its own energy, and its own future? Now, let's talk about Burkina Faso. You might be wondering, why Burkina Faso? Out of all the countries on the continent, why this small, landlocked nation? Here's the thing. Burkina Faso is on the verge of something massive. This country has been shaking up the status quo and proving to the world that innovation doesn't need to come from the West. The country is taking its destiny into its own hands, and the rest of Africa is watching. In a groundbreaking move, Burkina Faso recently unveiled its first 100% indigenous electric vehicle brand, Ottawa. You heard that right. They didn't wait for Europe, China, or the US to build their electric cars for them. No, they used their own resources, their own talent, and their own brains to build something the world would have never expected. This car has a range of 330 kilometers after just 30 minutes of charging, and it's built for both urban roads and rural terrains. And it's not just about the car, it's a symbol of what Africa can do if given the freedom to innovate. Ottawa is just the beginning. It's proof that African countries, when they put their minds to it, can create world-class technology. It's proof that Africa doesn't need to beg anyone for a seat at the table. Africa can build its own table. And not just that, it can lead the entire damn industry. And now, here's where things get even more interesting. Burkina Faso isn't just content with manufacturing its own electric cars. It's positioning itself as a hub for African innovation. This isn't just about one car. This is about creating an entire ecosystem where African inventors, scientists, and engineers can thrive. An ecosystem where new technologies can be born without the constant interference of foreign powers. If Burkina Faso can do this with electric vehicles, imagine what it could do for Chikumbutso's self-powering car. If the Burkinabe government decides to throw its weight behind Chikumbutso, this could be the perfect environment for his technology to finally get the validation and support it needs. Burkina Faso already has the political will and the infrastructure to foster innovation. This could be the country where Maxwell Chikumbutso's self-powering car finally takes off. But there's more. Ibrahim Traoré, the leader of Burkina Faso, is already on a path that's completely different from most other African leaders. While many of his counterparts are still bending to foreign pressures, Traoré is building an independent, self-sufficient Burkina Faso. He's making it clear that he doesn't want to be dependent on Western powers, and he's willing to risk everything to break free. This is the kind of leadership Africa needs, and Chikumbutso's invention needs it too. Burkina Faso is proving that it's possible to build something from nothing. They've shown that innovation isn't just something that happens in Silicon Valley or Beijing. It can happen in the heart of Africa. And this is the kind of spirit that Chikumbutso needs behind him. If Burkina Faso can back his self-powering car, this technology could take flight. And not just in Burkina Faso. It could spread across the continent, with Africa finally taking control of its energy and transportation systems. But there's a catch. As much as Burkina Faso is pushing to be the leader of African innovation, it still faces the same pressures that every other African country faces. The West is watching, and they won't let this happen without a fight. If Burkina Faso takes on this new technology, the West will do everything it can to undermine it, through sanctions, political pressure, or even military threats. It's the same playbook they've been using for decades to keep Africa in check. But Traoré doesn't care. He doesn't fear the West. He's already shown the world that he's willing to fight for his country's independence, and now he has the chance to fight for Africa's technological future. He could be the leader who finally breaks the cycle of dependency and turns Africa into the powerhouse it was always meant to be. Here's the real question. If Burkina Faso leads the charge, will other African nations follow suit? If this self-powering car becomes a reality in Burkina Faso, will other nations be inspired to invest in their own homegrown innovations? Will Africa stop waiting for permission from the West and finally start creating the technologies that will shape its own future? This is Africa's moment, but only if it has the right leadership. Only if it has leaders who aren't afraid to stand up to the forces that want to keep Africa dependent. Ibrahim Traoré has already proven he has the guts to take on the world. Now, it's time to see if he has the vision to lead Africa into a new era of technological independence. Burkina Faso, with its recent strides in electric vehicle technology and Traoré's bold leadership, could be the key to unlocking Africa's future. If Chikumbutso's car finds a home in Burkina Faso, it could send a message to the rest of Africa and to the world that Africa no longer needs to follow anyone. It can lead. But there's one thing that's clear. The battle for Africa's future is just beginning, and it will take every ounce of strength, courage, and leadership to see it through. This is it, the moment of truth. You've been waiting for the twist, and here it is. The question that's been hanging in the air for so long. Will Africa rise to the challenge? Will it take control of its own future? Or will it sit idly by, hoping that someone else will come along to save it? The world is watching closely, and time is running out. The rest of the globe is not waiting for Africa to catch up. It's already moving forward. China is dominating the electric vehicle market. The U.S. is pushing self-driving cars to the next level, and Europe is ramping up innovation like never before. But what about Africa? Is Africa still going to be the place where others come to take resources, to exploit its people and its land? Or is it going to be the place where African inventors, scientists, and visionaries get the chance to lead the world? Maxwell Chikumbutso's invention is not just a game changer. It's a revolution waiting to happen. This car, this self-powering, energy-generating machine, could be the spark that ignites Africa's technological revolution. No more begging for foreign aid. No more depending on imported oil. Africa could, for the first time in modern history, take full control of its own destiny. But only if it has the courage to fight for it. That's where Ibrahim Traoré comes in. He's the leader Africa needs right now. He's the one willing to stand against the West, to reject foreign control, and to fight for the future of his people. While other leaders are still afraid of the consequences of stepping out of line, Traoré is already making waves. He's proven time and time again that he's not afraid of the fight. He's already survived multiple assassination attempts. He's already faced down international pressure. And if he decides to back Chikumbutso's self-powering car, there's nothing that will stop him from protecting it. But here's the ugly truth. This battle won't be easy. The global powers that control the energy and automotive industries won't let this happen without a fight. They'll do everything they can to crush this technology before it has a chance to take off. They'll launch disinformation campaigns. They'll apply political and economic pressure. And if all else fails, they'll sabotage the project. After all, one successful African invention could change the world's power structure forever. That's why Africa needs a leader like Ibrahim Traoré. He's the kind of leader who won't buckle under pressure. He's the kind of leader who doesn't care about the threats, who isn't afraid of being ostracized by the West. He's the kind of leader who can shield Chikumbutso's invention from the storm that's coming. But it's not just about one car. It's about the bigger picture. If this car works, if Chikumbutso's technology is validated, it could start a chain reaction. Other African nations would see that it's possible to create homegrown solutions, that it's possible to innovate without relying on foreign powers. It could spark a new wave of African ingenuity, a movement that transforms the continent from a place of dependency into a hub of technological and economic power. This isn't just a dream. It's already happening. Burkina Faso is leading the charge with its own electric vehicles. Nigeria is investing in solar power. Kenya is building its own mobile payment systems. This is the Africa of the future, an Africa that is no longer waiting for someone else to save it, but an Africa that is rising on its own terms. But let's be real here. There's a ticking clock. Every moment Africa waits, every moment it hesitates, is another moment for global powers to step in and sabotage its progress. The longer Africa takes to act, the further behind it will fall. The question is, will the continent rise to the challenge, or will it be left behind, still begging for scraps while the rest of the world moves ahead? Maxwell Chikumbutso's self-powering car could be the key to unlocking Africa's potential, but only if Africa decides it's ready to protect it, to nurture it, and to fight for it. Ibrahim Traoré could be the man to lead that fight, but it's going to take more than just one leader. It's going to take a united front, a collective effort from every African nation that is ready to break free from the chains of colonialism and foreign control. The time to act is now. Africa can either continue to wait for approval from the West, or it can take the wheel and drive itself into the future. This is Africa's moment. Will it take it? The world is watching. The future is in Africa's hands, but only if it's willing to fight for it.